Good morning, Old Middle School students. This is Mr. Woolley, and we're going to take lesson 18, and we are going to split this up into 2 different days. There's just a lot of problems here, and they take a little bit of time to explain and go through. So anyways, we'll split up into 2 different videos. So they'll have both videos linked each day, but we're going to try to spread it out so it's not as long of a video for you. All right, we're going to be working with some proportional relationships on lesson 18. Now, to get a little warm-up going, this is how I'm going to solve a missing value of a proportion. If we have a scale that says 2 inches equals 16 feet, but I actually want to find out if 24 inches equals how many feet, there's a 2-step process to figure these out. I cross-multiply the numbers I can multiply 24 and 16. I can't multiply 2 and x because I don't know what x is. So 16 times 24 gives me 384. Then I take my answer and divide it by the number I haven't used in the problem yet, which in this case is going to be the 2. So 384 divided by 2 gives me 192. B, if you saw a scale on a map and it said 0.5 meters equals 15 kilometers. Well, we want to find out how many meters it would take to give you 45 kilometers. So once again, cross multiply what you can, 0.5 times 45, and you get 22.5. And then take your answer of 22.5 and divide it by your leftover number, which is 15. We haven't used that one yet. 22.5 divided by 15 gives you 1.5. So my missing value is 1.5. For C, if 3 inches equals 5 miles, well, 36 inches equals how many miles? Well, cross multiply what we can, which is the 5 times 36, and I get 180. And I take my answer and divide it by my leftover number, the 3, and I get 60. So 60 miles is what 36 inches would represent. And finally, one more of these. I'm going to cross multiply and do my division step on one more problem here. If 8 millimeters is equivalent to 56 meters in real life, then how many millimeters would give you 224 meters? Well, 8 times 224 gives you 1,792. And then take 1,792 divided by our leftover number of 56 and 32. So 32 millimeters is equivalent to 224 meters. All right. Okay. Now, example 1, you can kind of read the problem here, but it boils down to this kid's trying to build a basketball court on an empty lot at the school that measures 25 feet by 75 feet. So on his drawing, on his plans he's coming up with, 1 inch on the drawing corresponds to 15 feet of actual length. So what we are going to do is look at our map and say, well, let's figure out what 2 inches actually represents. Let's find out what 1 2/3 inches actually represents. All right, so if the scale said 1 inch equals 15 feet, then 2 inches equals how many feet? Well, cross multiply, I get 15 times 2 is 30. Take my answer and divide it by my leftover number of 1, and I get 30 feet. So this measurement actually turns into 30 feet. And if I use that same scale again, 1 inch equals 15 feet, so 1 2/3 inches equals how many feet? Well, 15 times 1 2/3, well, I converted that to an improper fraction, and I actually was able to cross cancel here, divide them both by 3, and I get 5 times 5 across the top and 1 times 1 on the bottom, so I get 25 over 1, which is just 25. So take that answer and divide it by our leftover number, 25 divided by 1 just gives you 25. So this measurement up here ended up being 25 feet. So we have 30 by 25. Now remember, there's a 25 by 75 feet area that we could do that with, and yes, the parking lot does measure 25 by 75, and the basketball court design measures 25 by 30. You'd actually be able to fit 2 courts on that parking lot. All right, moving on to example 2. The diagram shown represents the garden. The scale is 1 centimeter for every 20 meters. So each square in this picture here is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter on the actual length and width. So here, this is, as you count the squares, 1, 2, 3, 4 centimeters that way, and it's 8 across the top that way. So if I use that special scale they gave me, 1 centimeter is 20 meters, well then 4 centimeters will equal how many? Well, cross multiply, 20 times 4 gives you 80, and 80 divided by 1, my leftover number, gives me 80 meters. So the 4 centimeters measurement is actually going to be 80 meters. Same kind of thing for the how far across that is. If 1 centimeter is 20 meters, then 8 centimeters equals how many? Cross multiply 20 and 8, and I get 160, and divide that by my leftover number, and I get 160. So The actual garden then is going to measure 80 by 160. All right, moving on. All right, this time it says a graphic designer is creating an advertisement for a tablet. So he's to enlarge the picture given here so that 0.25 inches on the scale corresponds to 1 inch of the actual measurement. Will be the length and width of the tablet on the advertisement. Now, the original scale in the picture right now, 0.25 inches, is going to equal 1 inch in the actual ad. So in the picture that we have up here, 1 1/8 inch is actually going to turn out to be how far left to right in the ad. Well, what I did, since they gave me a decimal version of the scale, let's take 1 1/8 and makes that a decimal version. I know it's going to be 1 point something, and take 1 divided by 8 in your calculator, and you get 0.125. So 1.125. So I cross multiply what I can, 1 times 1.125, and I get 1.125. And take that answer, it's right in your calculator, and divide it by our leftover number, 0.25, and I get 4.5 inches. So across the top, that is going to be 4.5 inches across in the ad. Same kind of thing I'll do in the other one. The scale they told me up in the original problem, 0.25 inches equals 1 inch. So 1 1/4 is going to equal how many in the ad? Well, take 1 divided by 4 and you get 0.25, so 1 1/4 is actually 1.25. So cross multiply 1.25 and 1, you get 1.25. Divide your answer by 0.25, our leftover number, and we get 5 inches for the side measurement. So the tablet and the actual ad will measure 4.5 by 5 inches. All right, next up, this problem revolves around some kids from the school. They want to bring these panels into the mall to do an activity there for their production. And the panels measure 10 feet by 10 feet. So they're pretty big panels they're bringing in. And on the blueprints, like the floor plan of the mall, it shows that the entranceway is 3/8 of an inch across, but they also tell us the scale. 3/8 of an inch in the drawing represents 4.5 feet of actual length. All right, so we're trying to see if that would actually fit through the doorway, those big 10-foot by 10-foot panels. All right, so what I did, kind of like last problem, I converted those fractions to some decimal numbers, because that original scale, if you remember from up here, 1/8 represents 4.5 feet. Well, 1/8 is 0.125 inches. So that's supposed to equal 4.5, or what we call 4.5 feet. All right, so if the scale says 0.125 inches is equivalent to 4.5 feet, well, 3/8, all right, if you took 3/8, 3 divided by 8, it gives you 0.375. 3/8 is going to equal how far across? Well, cross multiply 4.5 times 0.375, you get 1.6875. Divide it by your leftover number of 0.125, and you get 13.5 feet across. So the panels were 10 foot across, so yes, those students can fit the 10-foot panels through a 13.5-foot doorway. All right, so what is the scale factor in this problem? Well, remember, they said that 1/8 of an inch equals 4.5 feet. Well, 4.5 feet equals 54 inches. That's 4 feet times 12 is 48, and a half a foot is 6 inches. So 48 plus 6 is 54 inches. So as you go from the floor plan to the actual measurement, take your y value divided by an x value. 54 divided by 1/8, you have to do a little bit of stacking on one underneath a whole number, keep change flip, and you get 432. So that building is actually 432 times larger than the floor plan image. It grows 432 times from the floor plan to the actual measurements. All right, and our next video, part B, you'll see I'll start with some of the problems in the problem set. So there you go, I'll stop there and start video B.